Today, we're going to answer the question, does decluttering actually count as self-care? Well, it should, and I'm going to tell you why. Well, hello friend, I'm Mary Beth from the At What Cost blog, and we are going to practice some self-care today. Well, I'm going to practice some self-care today because y'all, this room needs some care. Typically on this channel, we are going to talk about increasing our biblical literacy and how we can apply God's truths to our everyday lives. And you know what? Today is not any different. So if you are new here, thank you for stopping by. I hope you'll subscribe. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much. We are really starting to grow, and I appreciate all of your support and all of your encouragement. Today, I want to give you a picture of what biblical self-care looks like versus what the world tells us about recharging our batteries. In the past, I would have rooms that look like this, and before I even tackled it, I would feel stressed out and feel like I need a break. There's no way that I can actually declutter this room effectively. It's overwhelming, and I'm probably never going to get through it. But is that really self-care? If I were to just get up and walk out of this room and go hang out and watch TV for a while, maybe drink some coffee, maybe I'll call a friend and go have a cupcake. When I come back from doing all of that, is this room somehow going to be magically stress-free? No, it's not. That's not how any of this works. Do you remember that commercial a couple of years ago with the senior citizens talking about Facebook, and the people were like putting actual pictures on their walls, and the lady was like, that's not how any of this works. I feel like that when it comes to self-care. So I was recently talking with a friend about this very topic and the idea that I'm just supposed to go grab a cupcake with a friend and all of my troubles will go away because I will have refilled my cup. I don't think that that actually works. In fact, I've never finished a series on Netflix and had the laundry folded for me. Like turning on some music and running a bubble bath and relaxing for the next hour never actually accomplished getting the dishes done. In fact, most of the time when I was engaging in that self-care, all of my problems were still there on the other side of it, and I never felt any better about any of it. So I came across this article. I'm going to read you a portion of it because it resonated with me so much, and I feel like maybe it will with you too. And of course, the dog is gonna snore. If you have been around the channel long enough, you know we have a 97-and-a-half-year-old dog who's blind and sleeps 23 hours out of the day and snores like a 55-year-old man who needs a CPAP. So just bear with me. You're probably gonna hear her. I'm gonna lay some music over this and hopefully you won't. But on with our quote. So this quote is from Amila Niazi, and it says, "The act of self-care has become yet another thing that women are expected to be good at. Did you use the right filter for that gram of your impeccably prepared ancient grain bowl? Are the candles you just lit in your Snap story made from organic, hand-poured soy, or are they that mass-produced factory expletive?" It's Family Channel. And how can we stem the inevitable capitalistic tide from turning something as simple as self-care into yet another thing to be bought and sold? These are all the things I wrestle with as I order Domino's in sweatpants under the guise of being good to myself. I just love the idea there that self-care is really something to be bought and sold. And I don't typically talk too much about like marketing and capitalism and the way that we're all manipulated by it. I really want to focus more on biblical truth, but the fact of the matter is the world calls to us in many ways. And for some of us, it may be in those same ways that we are quote unquote caring for ourselves or being good to ourselves, filling our cup. When it comes down to it, the biblical example of self-care is very, very different. Let's take a look at that now. Starting in verse 28, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your weary souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So where are we really supposed to find this idea of self-care? Well, it's in our relationship and our reliance on Jesus. We can't do very much for ourselves to end the constant torment of labor. Labor is really a byproduct of the fall. Prior to, Eve hanging out and being tempted with something that was going to make her better at this or more desirable or give her information she didn't have, she and Adam were in the garden and they were working, and it wasn't full of labor. We are to look to Jesus as our example of where to find rest. And I don't know about y'all, but I have scoured the scriptures and I don't see anywhere that Jesus said to the disciples, "Come on, y'all, let's go get some cupcakes and chill out." That's just not the case. Jesus knew when it was time to do the work, when it was time to observe the Sabbath and cease working so that he could concentrate on prayer and being in relationship with his Father. So our idea of rest that is thrown at us constantly is that we should escape the work that's in front of us in order to rest enough to be ready to tackle the work. That's never been true for me. Anytime I was drowning in dishes or overflowed with laundry, the more I let it go, the more it piled up. And ultimately, I felt rested in the moment and completely stressed out and overwhelmed again as soon as I went to face this task. This idea of self-care and taking a break from all that we have is really causing us more stress and more anxiety than it actually is doing good. So I want to take another look at this article, and I will post this on the blog so that you can see the full article. I'll also link it in the description below because it's a little bit of an older article. It was initially published in 2017. It's been updated now in 2020. And honestly, with all the things that are happening in the world right now, this idea of self-care is probably on the forefront of everyone's mind. The author is Brianna Weist, and so she says, self-care is often a very unbeautiful thing. It's making a spreadsheet of your debt and enforcing a morning routine and cooking yourself healthy meals and no longer running from your problems and calling the distraction a solution. That was exactly what I found. I had this distraction and this thing that would pull me away from the work that needed to be done under the guise that I just needed to rest. Once I rested and I felt recharged, it would be easier for me to tackle the situation. The problem was, I never actually felt all that rested knowing that all of those dirty dishes, all of those toys all over the floor, people weren't getting the things that they needed in my home, and it was causing a lot of unrest in general. I never felt fully recharged from that kind of rest. The real kicker is this highlighted quote that says, "True self-care is not bath salts and chocolate cake. It is making the choice to build a life that you don't need to regularly escape from." And that truth hit real hard in this office. I sort of realized yesterday afternoon when my kids were coming home from school, they would come into this room, they would stand at my desk here and want to tell me about their day. But all three of my kids are plunderers and fidgeters, so they're always looking for something to get their hands on, and I started to feel like they couldn't be in here. They couldn't touch the things on my desk because there were so many different things, it's all layered up, and if they touched something, all of it was gonna fall apart. That's exactly the feeling that I have worked so hard towards minimalism to escape. I didn't want to feel like that. My whole house felt like that. So as I have decluttered, I really noticed how much less I have to take that time to indulge so that I'm able to face the things that I'm facing. I've actually found the opposite to be true. When I most feel overwhelmed is typically when our house feels the most out of order. When I take a few minutes to do the dishes or do some meal planning to make sure that it's not 5 o'clock and I'm asking the question, okay, what are we gonna have for dinner, while everybody's hungry and screaming at me that they need something. If I take those few minutes to just get some things done, once I do have the opportunity to rest, I can enter into that true rest that's not distracted by labor that I have not completed and all of the things, all of the trappings of the world that are calling to me, telling me that I need to be better about taking care of myself. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't slow down and take a break from time to time. God commands us to do this right in the very beginning of the Bible. We see in Ecclesiastes the way that there are seasons for different things. There's a time to reap and there's a time to sow. We don't have anything to reap if we don't sow. And the same thing goes in our homes. If we neglect all of these things that help to set us up for a little bit easier routine, if we don't take the time to actually get the work done, we end up right here where this article is talking about in trying to find an escape from our everyday lives. Wouldn't you so much rather want to develop a life that you enjoy living? I don't want to live a life that I have to escape from. And my guess is that you don't either. So if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, I would encourage you to do so. I have lots of decluttering videos, Bible study videos if you're looking to dig deeper into God's Word. And you can also follow me on Instagram, and I also have a Facebook page. So be sure to check out those links in the description below. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.